Hi everybody, I'm Sarah Lewis. I'm the Planning Practice Officer at the Royal Town Planning Institute, and I'm the author of our work on dementia and town planning. We first published this advice for our members in 2017, and then I reviewed and updated the work in September last year and republished it. The advice that we primarily wrote for our members was endorsed by both the Alzheimer's Society and Public Health England. We were very pleased to have their involvement in this work because it's an extra source of information. It means that we're giving the right information to our members, getting it right first time rather than creating any more confusion with planners, and it adds a bit more emphasis to the work that we're doing. So the aim of our advice is mainly to raise awareness amongst planners about dementia and the impact that the built environment has upon their ability to live well. And it's also to show that planners can and should have a role in creating the right sorts of places. I'm not going to go into all of the detail here because it's not appropriate and it's not enough time to do that, but basically it outlines government policy, key information and statistics, and uses quite a lot of best practice and case studies to highlight what can be done. And I'll go through some of these in turn because it might give a flavour of ways that people with specialism in dementia are able to interact with town planners.
Sorry, Sarah. Sorry to interrupt. Your audio is weaving in and out. It may improve if you switch your camera off.
Yeah, can try that. If there's any more problems, let me know, and I will go and make everybody else go off into the internet in the house. So just let me know. So in order for town planning to have a role in this, we need some expertise, and that's hopefully where the organisations you all work for come in. So I'll begin by talking a little bit about what town planning is. Put it simply, town planning decides how land should be used or protected. However, in practice,
I'm sorry, Sarah, you've got the same issue, which is that your audio is drifting in and out.
Okay, if you give me 2 minutes, I'll go and kick everybody else off in the internet.
Remember to mute yourself while you're shouting at your family.
I'm very polite.
That's hopefully something we can rectify quite quickly now with Sarah. I wondered, Francis, if it's worth you just mentioning a little bit now everybody's on board about the forthcoming report from Lord Best from the APPG.
Yeah, so welcome everybody. I did mention it just before the start of this webinar, which is a series of webinars, more to follow on the 9th of February and the 17th of February. That 17th of February date coincides with the publication of the APPG report on dementia and housing. We're all looking forward to that. I believe John has given evidence of that. We certainly have given evidence of that. It's led by the Housing Lin. The Housing Lin will no doubt run virtual sessions on it on the day and subsequently. So put that date in your diary. We, of course, will circulate it, and it's likely that we will circulate it to anybody who's been registered on any one of these webinars, because we will have all your contact details. But be aware that that will be published in mid-February.
And I think that's going to be a very exciting document to see the outcome of that report, which has been prepared for several months now. I think a real aspect to the whole of our worlds in terms of the dementia-friendly design is going to be very much impacted by the COVID response and how we can see things changing as a result of COVID, and hopefully a far more receptive world as well. Much greater appreciation and understanding of the value of outdoor space and the value of community that brings. I think Sarah's back with us now, so I think we'll pass back over to Sarah.
I hope that's better, everybody.
Much better, thank you, Sarah.
It's the usual thing of 2 school lessons, 2 jobs, and not enough Wi-Fi.
Fine.
Right,
so we'll continue with your town planning slide, thank you.
Okay, so I'll start off by saying what town planning is. But simply, town planning decides how land should be used or protected. But in actual fact, it's a lot more complicated than that. You have to consider a vast range of issues. So there's housing supply, there's infrastructure, there is making sure access to jobs, social justice, the economy, elected members, the government, who like to change the rules on planning on a fairly regular basis, but that's a personal right that maybe I won't go into here. And so what planners' job is to balance all these competing demands and needs, making sure that they are meeting the needs of the more vulnerable parts of society. The situation is quite difficult for planners in terms of the austerity measures that have been going on for a number of years. And COVID-19 has, of course, had a massive impact on the way that we all live and move around places. So when we talk about planners, we have planners working in the public sector, so those are people who work in the local authorities, the private sector, these are people who work for consultancies, and the voluntary sector, and these are large-scale charities, and in particular within the environmental sector. And they all have a role in designing places to help people with dementia live well. And now my next problem is the fact that I don't seem to there we are. So, sorry, I got completely thrown by running around the house. So how can planners help people live well for longer within their community? A lot of the evidence from healthcare professionals that it's vital for people with dementia to stay active. This is physically, mentally, and socially. However, research by the Alzheimer's Society said that 35% of people with dementia only go out once a week, and 10% only go out once a month. And this means that people are being staying in their home much more than they would probably wish to. And this has an impact upon people's confidence, their well-being, their activity rates, and all these different things. And there are common things where people like to get out. This is with socialising, with shopping, meeting friends, leisure activities like going to the park or the cinema. But a lot of people aren't able to do this. This is a quote from a Natural England commissioned report called "Is It Nice Outside?" And it's from a participant in this study. And I think it's extremely important because it shows just at a glance how important it is for people who have dementia to get outside, to be sociable, to see the world around them and what's going on. And it says a lot more than expertise and looking at it from an outside point of view. And it's one thing that I've tried to stress within the advice that I've written for planners, is that taking on board the opinions, the views and the experiences of people who have dementia into the work that you do. Don't always assume that you know best and you know what their experiences are. So how should we plan our towns, our cities, our villages, and even our individual developments to help them be suitable for people living with dementia? The advice is that if people with dementia live 5 to 10 minutes walk from community hubs, it helps them to live independent and fulfilling lives for longer. You can see the built environment as being either enabling or disabling. And if you've got access to the amenities, the local shops, the doctors, the post offices, and the banks, within an easy and safe walking distance, it helps people to be independent for longer. And this isn't just people with dementia, this is more broadly for older people. And for all of us now, with the impact of COVID-19, we're all appreciating our local areas and where we can get to easily in our everyday dark lives when our world has become much smaller. And the impact of green space on nature for people living with dementia is also quite well documented. And there's an involved argument that people should be encouraged to go outside and have the opportunities to go outside. So these are principles of good design for people living with dementia. And the aim is that we should be creating places that are familiar. This is where the functions of a building or a place are obvious and any changes are small scale and incremental. They're legible. There's a hierarchy of street types and there's clear signs of decision points. Distinctive, there's a variety of landmarks, architectural features. There's practical things like trees and seating, so that when you're moving around, you know exactly where you are and not all the streets around you look exactly the same. that they're accessible, the land use is mixed, so you're not walking long distances to get to the shops, and you know where you are, and that they're comfortable. The open space is well defined, and there are toilets, seating and shelter and good lighting, and also that they're safe. The footpaths are wide, they're flat, and they're non-slip. This isn't principles that I've put together. This is something that's come from Oxford Brookes University a number of years ago and has been used successfully for quite a long time. So I'm now going to bring these more general principles about good urban design for dementia-friendly environments into time planning. And the RTPI is trying to encourage the principles of time planning, of dementia-friendly design in a number of ways. We have the practice advice that we have for our members, we have online training. And what we're trying to do is to gently encourage our members that these are things that they should be thinking about. And they need to think about them early on within the process, the planning process that they're working within. Because it's seen as being much more effective and it's much more cost effective if you put these things in place right early on at the start of a development, rather than kind of retrofitting and trying to add these things on at a later date. They're going to be more cost effective, but also they're going to work better because you thought everything through from the start. So what I'm going to do is go through a series of case studies, what I found from around the UK, that relate where dementia has been considered within town planning and at different stages of the process and at different scales. And the idea is to show you that planners are doing this work. Also, of course, this isn't across the board. These are good examples of practice. It's not that way everywhere. But the idea is that as a professional who has an interest in this, by working with your planners, you can improve the outcomes that are being delivered. I'm going to start with Plymouth City Council. In planning terms, Plymouth City Council Planning Department are excellent. They are an award winner from us on many occasions. They have a very innovative and proactive approach to doing things. So in their city plan a couple of years ago, they included an ambition to become a dementia-friendly city. And right at the heart of their local plan, they had this ambition. And the aim is that people feel they have a choice and control over the decisions about their life, to feel a valued part of the community, and to live well with dementia. And part of the way that they do this is that the Plymouth Strategic Planning and Infrastructure Department, so the planning department, work very closely with the dementia-friendly coordinator. And I thought it was quite telling that the time I contacted the planning department to talk about the work that they do, that they'd automatically invited along the dementia-friendly coordinator to that meeting. So I was getting both sides at the same time, which demonstrates how well they work together. In South Ribble, they are also taking an early approach to including dementia within their town planning processes. What they did is when they were starting off the review of their local plan, which obviously is a regular long-term process, they employed the University of Stirling as consultants. And what they wanted to do was right at the start of the review of the local plan, they wanted to know what people living with dementia within South Ribble, what they thought a dementia-friendly place would look like. There's been ongoing work with this, and it's gone into consultation papers, and the initial discussions are also going to be revisited at different points in the process. But what it shows is that there's options to include this very early on. With Watford, who included dementia at a slightly later stage, is to include policies on accessible and adaptable homes within their draft local plan. So at draft stage, it's not been enacted yet, but there are hopes that this policy will be included in there. And what it means is it's got very strong policy within the local plan that you can check on it. It's not wordiness, it's not a you would like to do this, it's measurable outcomes. So the idea is that 4% of new homes should be designed with dementia-friendly principles in mind. So you can go back and check at later years that these plans have actually gone through. In Worcestershire County Council, what they've done there is take an approach, a very long-term approach between the Public Health Department and the Planning Department. This has involved things like a secondment of the town planner into the Public Health Department, which is very important because it means that both departments know how each other works, their timescales, their priorities, and it's a culture change of listening to each department and having a very, very joined up approach. And they've been involved in reviews of local development plans with very strong health and wellbeing policies. Dementia and planning for older people is one aspect of this. So it's a holistic approach that they're taking. And what this has done, because this has been going for 5 or 6 years, this approach, is it's going through all stages of the process. So it's run across the county for the different local plans for the county, and with neighbourhood plans and with new advice. So it's across the whole, everything that the local authority is doing.
I think we've got a freeze, Sarah, unfortunately. Is that what everybody else is experiencing?
I think that's right, John.
Yeah. I think what we might do, and thank you everybody for the suggestions as to how we might alleviate the problem. I think we are coming close to the time that Sarah had for her presentation. I think what we might do is as was suggested, is perhaps move on to Mark. I'm aware of the fact that Sarah has to go at 2:30. I think if we can't correct the technical glitch, then perhaps we move forward with Mark and Bill. And thank you to all of you for keeping with us here. We have still got nearly everybody who started on the session, so we're 145 participants. So what I'd like to do now, if I may, is actually move on to Mark. As I said in the introduction, Mark is from Step Change Design, and he is going to be describing relationship-centered design, which I think I'm particularly interested in, this idea of how spaces actually make for places that people can actually connect and that are well used and well loved. So if I may, Mark, I'd like to pass on to yourself. We'll try and correct some of the glitches, as I say. And if you do have any questions specifically for Sarah, if you can let us know, then put them on the chat and we can either answer them at the end of the session or ask Sarah to direct those towards you. Sorry, Sarah, just for your sake, we'll move on. There are still some technical glitches going on. People are finding it quite hard to get the volume. So if you don't mind, we're suggesting we'll move on to Mark now, and any questions that people may have, they can put through to you on chat, and maybe you could respond to those for the next 10 minutes.
I'm really sorry. I have no idea what's happening with my laptop to close itself down. So I'm gonna say goodbye now. Just that people can contact me. My email address can be shared for any questions and any information. And just extremely sorry about the tech today.
Thank you. So can I just ask you one question before you go, and hopefully people just bear with us for a second. I'm very interested to hear that you're saying that the local authorities are developing their local plans to include dementia-friendly design principles. What percentage would you say we've actually got now that are engaging with these issues?
I'm afraid I just don't know. Without going through contacting each local authority to see where they are and what stage they're at, it's very difficult to know this information. Just that, it is, I did the work 4 years ago and then refreshed it at the end of last year, and there was a lot more available to look at. And it's in different guises that they're doing this work. So I can just say that it is improving, but in terms of percentage, I'm not in a position to give an accurate figure about that.
That's fine, Sarah. Thank you very much for contributing today. I think your slides are going to be available, and I think they've got some excellent information on for people to share. So, as I say, perhaps if people want to have any chats or questions for Sarah, we can pass those on to her later. But thank you very much, Sarah. Really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.